parade. But Easton, a player here again this week, Kyle Jesse.
Certainly was an interesting weigh-in yesterday. You thought those two guys were going to be at the top again. Easton obviously had a terrific day on day number one. Got to see some really interesting things that he was doing yesterday. Using that perspective mode, got some great shots on live yesterday, seeing what he was looking at, and it seemed to happen fast. You know, early in the morning, he mentioned staying close, trying to maximize his time early in the morning. Didn't really work out. Went to his secondary area, and that's when it really picked up for him. Seemed like he, caught a lot of his weight within, I'd say an hour span. So certainly far from being over for Easton Fothergill.
Well, our final two in the Classic had a combined age of 42, and this is the other part of that. 20-year-old Trey McKinney, the youngest Elite Series champion in history, and we're used to seeing him in the mix, but once again here this week.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously stumbled right out of the gates this year on the Bassmaster Elite Series. Didn't let that slow him down. An outstanding tournament there at Lake Okeechobee. Moves on to the Classic with a second-place finish. Right back into the mix here at, in North Carolina, and it has been nonstop for him. I mean, we see him flipping trees, hitting those, flipping his jig up against those cypress knees, having some success. Also using what looks to be some variation of perspective mode. So been interesting to watch him, and yesterday same deal for him. Obviously the afternoon bite was key, but with this weather we'll see what happens.
Well, how about your tournament leader Kyle Welcher? Said he left the dock yesterday morning, did not have a plan, had a horrible pre-fish, but yesterday on the stage, and these are some scary words if you're in this event, he said, now I have a clue, and it didn't take him long to prove that first thing this morning.
Absolutely. I mean, yesterday it felt like we had to wait a good little ways until we found, we started seeing those bigger fish hit the scales or hit Bass Track. Today, right off the bat, right as soon as the folks in Little Rock hit live, seemed like Kyle Welcher caught that 7-pounder, instantaneously. He called a shot. We're going to call him Babe Ruth today because he told Chase Sansom yesterday when they were looking at the footage that he had lost this fish and he was going to go to him with 100% confidence and catch him first thing in the morning. That's exactly what he did. Has not slowed down. Obviously boated another fish close to 7 pounds, it appeared. So outstanding start here today for Kyle Welcher, but got some adverse conditions. Going to be interesting to see if he can maintain what he's been able to do, but it's been super impressive so far.
Well, an event where everybody is gambling with long runs, a guy synonymous with gambling, obviously Kyle Welcher, a former
really
pro poker player, not making a long run.
Try to find a few more places where these fish might be pulling up to spawn. We got a good bag. We got a couple small ones we need to get rid of. We can get rid of a couple small ones. We'll be really, really good. And I like it when we're really, really good. I shook this fish off on accident one time. I'd like to not do that again.
One of the unique things that we're seeing happen with him, and Wes Miller, our drone photographer that's seen everything there is to see in this sport, he pointed out, he said, Welcher's fishing so much slower than a bunch of boats in that area. And he said there were several boats in that area that yesterday they were fishing incredibly fast. And I wonder if that's, Welcher said he had nothing going into this tournament. First day of pre-fish, a lot of anglers talked at how many bites they were getting, how quick they could fish. This is one of those situations where maybe a bad pre-fish is the result of a good tournament because you had to slow down.
No doubt. I mean, you think about it when you're talking about making the long run, staying close. Those guys that are making the extremely long runs, that's in their head all day long because that clock is continuing to tick. Obviously, once you make it there, you don't have a lot of time to fish. So your internal clock starts speeding up. You fish too fast. I mean, it is springtime. Obviously Kyle Welcher just mentioned there moments ago, fish that are pulling up to spawn, trying to figure out those places where more will potentially pull up. I mean, it's spring, and once they get on, either a bed or a piece of cover like we're seeing right now, I mean, it's not necessarily like you just throw to it once and it bites, especially a fish that's actively on bed. So, being able to slow down is certainly always going to be a key in the springtime once those fish get to that stage of the spawn, and certainly paying off big.
Hooked up live.
Get over here, big sucker. can't freaking grab it. Got it now. Give me some, dude. In the mouth. Close to 5.
He is going to ruin this weigh-in. Make it better for one guy.
He's right at 5. Get in there, you big sucker.
Smallest fish was a 1. That is a 4-pound cull there. Not bad. When you already have, what was his lead before that?
9 and change. Almost 10 pounds.
He's doing a little culling there, and if you saw what he did right before he hooked that fish, I mean, we see a lot of time with bedding fish, the way shaking the bait. I mean, he's actually hitting that rod, beating that rod. We'll have a look at that in a little bit, but I think we're going to try to pull something off here, College. I don't know if we can do it. We have been trying to do this for 2 days in a row, and I mean, it's a tall task. I mean, when your former champion won it 44 years ago, it is not easy to get a hold of that gentleman. But I think, do you think this is actually going to happen?
That's what I keep hearing. I mean, we teased it yesterday.
Basil Bacon, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Well, thank you for joining us. Incredible to have legendary Basil Bacon. We actually can see you, Basil. Coffee time.
Well,
great to have you here.
Well, thank you. It's pleasure's all mine. Quite an honor. Thank you.
You're familiar with this fishery. You're familiar with this fishery.
Well,
you've obviously fished it for years. You've been successful here.
Yes, I really like the area. Very familiar with it. Had at least a couple of tournaments over there. And I really like the water because there's so many different ways to go and many different ways of fishing. And right now, it ought to really be great over there.
How has it changed over the years when you won compared to today?
Well, of course, I haven't been there since then. And I really don't know how the water has changed, the lakes and everything, but if you're referring to how fishing has changed in general, it's a whole new ball game now as to what it was, what we did on any lake, anywhere and any time.
Basil, you were extremely well known to be a great flipper, and you know, so far from what we've seen out here at the Pasquotank River, it looks to be the most fishy water I've ever seen. I mean, as far as being able to flip cover, fish, you know, visible cover. You know, your experience, was that the case, and is this one of the most fishy places you've ever fished?
Well, it's one of my favorite places, and you know, flipping was my thing. I always told people the only depth finder I need in my boat is the one I got in my right hand, because that's the way I fished most of the time. And it was my favorite way. Well, except, of course, reserve spook. That's a little different world of fishing. And the flipping, you've got everything in the world to flip over there. If you want to run around the lake, across the big lake, the sound itself, then you've got several rivers there. You got the Chowan and the Pasquotank and the Pasquotank and Flatty. You go up the North River, go into Cornstalk Bay, go across Currituck, and go up into Back Bay in Virginia if you want to run that far. And everywhere you go, you get something different. A lot of grass over in the eastern part of that whole scenario in there. But everywhere you go, you've got something different to fish. And of course, one of my favorite things is fishing around cypress knees. They hold a lot of fish. You have to fish cypress knees a little bit different than most people ever think about. But it's a great place to fish, and I really liked it there. In fact, just a tournament one time up in, we started out just outside of Richmond, Virginia, and I run down the James and across Chesapeake Bay and down the Intercoastal Canal and went into Coin Drop Bay and then went back up into Back Bay. Like I never made that trip. Didn't work out very good, but had a lot of fun.
Long run's probably a little tougher back in your day. Didn't have as big a outboard, as big a motor. How long was the run you were making back then?
On the Albemarle Sound, in the tournaments that I fished, I always fished on the Sound, Flatty, which is where I won one tournament, was in Flatty Creek, and the other one I was mostly in Little River, because Little River just seemed to produce a lot of really good fish on a regular basis. Had a lot of good stuff to fish, and as far as the run from up around Richmond, I probably run about 125 miles and then add another 15 or something like that to go back across Currituck and into Back Bay in Virginia. But didn't think anything about making
Basil,
runs like that.
Steve Bowman.
Sure.
Steve Bowman told us a story yesterday about how influential the tournament you won in 1981 was to conservation and the live release boats that we're so familiar with seeing now. Can you tell us a little bit more about that story and how that all played out?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. The first tournament we had there, when the tournament was over, there were a lot of dead fish in that little canal up there where they were releasing all the fish. And after it was over with, everybody was real upset. The fishermen were upset. We don't like killing fish. That's why we came up with the catch and release stuff years and years ago. And it was a bad thing, and everybody was talking about it being an oxygen and everything. And I had been schooled quite well on pH by Dr. Lauren Hill. He's a really good friend of mine, and I had a lot of respect for him. Really a neat guy. And he taught me a lot of things, a lot of different things about the things that he had done in fishing. But I knew from the boat slip that I was in that one morning I walked in there and I could smell it. I thought, well, this is bad stuff. And I checked pH on it, and it was coffee. It was pure acid, 4.0. So anyhow, I picked up the phone, knowing what I knew, and called Harold Sharp, Home Dome, and told him, I said, what the problem was up there was the pH. I said, those fish are going in there and they're releasing them 4.0. They can't swim 100 feet. They're going to be dead. And so anyhow, he said, well, you proved that. We go back next year, and I talked to Lauren and the guy that manufactured the boat, can't remember his name, Joe something, and manufactured the pH meter. And so they came over and at the next tournament, and I was one of the first to weigh in, and they came up to me and they said, Bake, we got a problem here proving this thing because we checked the pH of the water down there. And he said, it's 7.8, 7.9, it's perfect. And, well, I don't know. All I can tell you is what I know and what I saw last year. And it wasn't but about 15, 20 minutes, all of a sudden some folks came up and said, hey, we got dead fish down here in the canal, so. Lauren grabbed his pH meter and was. He said, for some reason it's 4.0, and where it was 7.9 a few minutes ago. I said, well, it's motors are coming up through there and they're kicking that silt up off the bottom, and it's just deadly to the fish. So the next day, they got the word, and Ray had everybody come in on trolling motors, but, you know, they helped some, but that didn't cure it. But after that, they figured it was a good idea to get a boat and take those fish and put them in water we know for sure, and then take them somewhere else and release them instead of releasing them right there by the weigh-in site, because everybody knew that was a good day to fish, a good place to go fish the next day anyhow. And it was quite an accomplishment that the folks at Bass and all the other tournament organizations too have done a great thing with those release boats. It was a good deal.
Basil, you're obviously a bass fishing Hall of Famer, a 9-time Classic qualifier, 2-time Bassmaster winner. I'm a big fan personally, and I'm a little fanboying out here just having you on the show. But if I can get an exemption and you could compete in this tournament, could Basil Bacon compete today with today's anglers?
I could. I might get a little tired. Get wore out before it's over, because I am 88 years old now and I've been retired, but I still do a lot of fishing. I haven't been since yesterday, and fixing to leave here just as soon as this thing's over with.
Well, I love to hear that, and it honestly has been an honor having you on the show. Basil Bacon, you are a gift to this industry, and I thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, sir, for having me, and it's been a pleasure. Anytime, anything I can do, you just holler. I'll be there.
Well, we'll be in touch. Let's get back out. Basil Bacon doesn't know. I mean, he threw that offer out there. I will be calling all times a day. I mean, I would love to fish with him. An incredible legend of this sport. Such an entertaining gentleman, and 88 years old. I mean, it took us 2 days to get that signal, but I'm glad we did. Joey Cifuentes hooked up live.
Finally, number 4. And a little better quality. A little over 3-pounder. Oh, that's big time right there. Just gotta get one more.
The Cowboy having a big week here, Joey Cifuentes. Don't know if I haven't brought it up to him, but I don't know if he takes it to the fence. We found out yesterday during the weigh-in that David Mullins has a pet raccoon, which is actually named Cowboy. Is that an insult, you think?
I'm going to say it's just an odd coincidence.
Well, what isn't an odd coincidence is our tournament leader, the same leader since day number 1, 55 pounds, 3 ounces, Stone Cold Kyle Welcher.
In the relentless pursuit of domination on the water, one name stands above the rest. TH Marine's Atlas Jackplate. The power behind champions since 2007. The driving force that propels you to victory. More winners choose Atlas. For the fisherman who demands the best, Atlas delivers. Because every move counts. More winners choose Atlas.
In a world where adventure meets innovation, where the thrill of the open water is met with the cutting edge of technology, Introducing the all-new Skeeter Command Center, seamlessly integrated, effortlessly connected. Stay informed, stay in control, and command your dominance.
The best of the best just got better. Clearer images, sharper resolution, improved target separation. That's right, better. LiveScope Plus, only from Garmin.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graph mounts up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products, and remember, you can't beat a beatdown.
The newest addition to the Basscat STS family is here. Introducing the Caracal STS, showcasing aggressive styling, paired with enhanced performance and a continued dedication to raising the bar. Measuring in at 20 feet 2 inches with an ultra-wide 96-inch beam and rated for a 250 to 300 horsepower engine, the Caracal STS boasts agility and speed and is finished with premium features to satisfy any angler. Basscat Boats. Feel the rush.
And last, see you later, 9. Oh, it could be 10. Oh, what a bite. Oh, buddy. It's a 10 pack. That's a giant. That's like a 11, actually. What a nice fish.
It's the moment when everything is on the line and precision, power, and control make all the difference. A moment over 20 years in the making, anchored on loyalty, trust, and support that goes beyond all expectations. A relentless pursuit of perfection. All born from a revolutionary idea to help you rule the water. Power Pole.
Bassmaster Halftime Show presented by Basscat Boats, back in your life. And where are we coming from this week? Well, we are in beautiful Elizabeth City, North Carolina for the third stop of 2025 Progressive Bassmaster Elite Series. And Stone Cold Kyle Welcher is kind of walking away with this thing at this point. It's still early, but this week a big story has been runs. It is all about high risk and maybe a reward, depending on how it works out for you. It obviously goes one of two directions, and I'll be honest, yesterday during weigh-in, it was shocking the amount of anglers that came up. I mean, Drew Cook stands out, said on stage yesterday that his run was 2 hours and 45 minutes each way. He was physically shaking on the stage. I mean, obviously a little cold, and what these anglers are putting up with is amazing. And I think because this is our space, we don't give this enough credit. If you really look at it, we did a little research yesterday. You know, the average F1 race is 90 minutes long. He's running for 2 hours and 45 minutes, and that's not a pleasureful, like, you're driving the entire time. And when you see all these things about racers and what they go through and the stress of a race, our anglers are literally doing more than a Formula One race, going and trying to catch their fish, and then doing that to get back. It is truly incredible.
When you see the conditions on the, on the Sound, obviously it is not just silk smooth glass water. Obviously, if you saw anything on social media last night, those runs were treacherous. And to do that for that amount of time, that's a mentally exhausting thing. You heard it so many times during weigh-in yesterday, how many guys were coming up. I mean, we talked about it. Guys were walking up like crooked, like couldn't even stand up straight from how long these runs were and just getting, beat to death out there. And the thing that's mentally exhausting, and you and I talked about this as well, is in other sports, if Chris Jones is lined up against you and you're the tackle, every single play you got to continue to do that, and that's mentally exhausting. for those guys that are making that long run, they have to know before they even do it, like, how bad that sucked, and I'm going to have to do it again just to compete. So certainly going to be something to keep an eye on. And the flip side of that is this guy's making extremely long runs, and then we see the guy in first place right now on Bass Track just knocking their lights out. And, I mean, if there wasn't an island behind us, we might be able to see him.
He's 1.5 miles from takeoff. I mean, why didn't they all just do that?
Well, I mean, that's the one consistent thing we heard through practice was that if you could make the run, it was going to be worth it. I mean, we talked about the buying or selling yesterday. That was a big component to that as well. And all the guys that thought, you know, if you could do it, it's going to be worth it. I think by the end of this tournament, some guys are going to be really upset seeing what, you know, Kyle Welcher and even some of the other guys that have stayed close and have been able to do, maximize their time. Obviously, no lack of quality in here, but changing conditions, it'll be interesting to see if that affects, you know, the bite in here and if it makes the bite elsewhere better. So it's still a lot to be determined.
Looking at Easton Fothergill, obviously the second youngest Bassmaster Classic champion in history and has been that for all of 2 weeks. How far is he running?
He's in the North River, so, I mean, not too far. I mean, Ronnie made the comment yesterday that by land it's not very far, but you still have to go out. And, you know, one thing that's worth mentioning, and I wish this was one of the few tournaments that I do wish I was able to get out on the water just to see it, because I think this body of water is so unique as it is, but the map doesn't do it justice. We talk about it every single time we go to the Great Lakes. You see it up there. You're like, oh, the lake's significantly bigger than a normal lake. But it doesn't do it justice until you get out there. Just to make a run over into the North River, I mean, you still have to run all the way out into the Sound and then back in. Again, I'm no expert at maneuvering here, but that's still a decent run as far as time is concerned.
You know you're on big water when we had several anglers on stage say, and anybody who's spent time on big water knows that when you look at a point ahead, or even if you look at your graph and you're like, okay, we're going to be covering ground. Several anglers said, I shut down my graph and turned it on because I thought I lost connection because my cursor just wasn't moving enough. Obviously, we got eyes on Joey Cifuentes right now. Is he making a big run as well?
He is. Roanoke, he's going all the way down there. Jacob Fouts is also in a similar area.
Oh, boy.
He's hooked up. There's a lot going on here.
He looks short. He looks short. Oh, he touches. He touches. He's going in. We'll get rid of him here in a minute. White number 1.
That one going to measure for him. Doesn't want to bring that in at the end of the day, but he'll take it for right now. Joey Cifuentes having a good tournament, but Trey McKinney, I mean, it seems like it's more rare that he has a bad tournament than a good tournament. I mean, he's always in the mix. He's making a bit of a run as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's over there, very similar area to where Easton's at. They're not within seeing distance or anything like that, but they're
hooked up live,
you know, around the corner.
That's cool. And we are in the woods. Right there. Not bad little fish. Take it every day of the week.
Good fish for Trey McKinney. Another guy we've had a camera on for the last 2 days. Had a camera yesterday and earned it again here today. Kind of joked with him on stage. Does his talking on the scales this week because a little short when it comes to voice. Had no voice for weigh-in yesterday. Well, that's a good call right there. But that is Brock Mosley right there. Kind of funny, a week and a half ago, me and Brock had a conversation, and we talked about, you know, the sport and just what guys can give on camera. And I talked to him about how important it is to give your all every time you're on camera, to make the moments happen on the water that inspired you to love this sport as much for the next generation. And he was all fired up. And then he gets a camera and has no voice for 2 days in a row, in the irony of life.
I made the mistake this morning to ask him to do a quick little preview video, and he'd made it, one sentence, and then I realized that he still had no voice. But seems like it's getting a little better. Seems like he's found a little remedy to make it better. But another guy making a sizable run, he's over in the Yopim. We've seen him 2 days in a row on camera. You got to give some credit. I mean, on day one, we've seen multiple guys that are factoring into this tournament. It's not always the way it works out, but, Brock Mosley doing what Brock Mosley does, throwing a vibrating jig. Certainly been a player this week, and going to have to keep an eye on.
Well, what we're going to have to keep an eye on is this show, because we're coming back with a local expert. Scooter Lilly going to join us when we come back, and going to break down some of the on-the-water action and what we're seeing happening right in front of our very eyes, because this is obviously the third stop of the season, and local stick, Scooter Lilly. And the question is that really his name, or is this all just a marketing scam?
Professional angler Jason Christie knows the performance and feel of a reel in his hands is very important. And that's why he designed the new Spro JC Elite and JC Elite MG Baitcast reels to achieve both of those goals. The reels have 4 gear ratios for any technique, and the frame of each reel is the same size. So no matter which speed you use, they feel the same. 9 bearings, long casting, and loaded with power. Give the JC Elite and JC Elite MG a try this season.
It's definitely a lot colder today.
Man, I really need to make this cut. I need to make up points quick.
Positive mental attitude.
I hope they stay where I found them.
Are they even pulling water?
Too far.
I hope nobody else.
Man, it's too windy.
The water's too high.
Avco, keeping you comfortable on the outside, no matter how you're feeling on the inside.
25 years as a touring professional, I have depended on Gamakatsu my entire career to produce the sharpest and the strongest hooks. Known as a power fisherman, but yet if you're going to survive as a tour level pro, finesse is becoming more and more popular, regardless if we go north or we go south. So when you're choosing a hook, choose Gamakatsu. They have one for every technique and every body of water that you fish on.
Lights, sonar, action. Tired of waiting? See more action with world-class fish finders and sonar from Lowrance. Discover the hidden gems and pristine waters of Tennessee's B.A.S.S signature lakes. Conveniently located throughout Tennessee, there's a signature lake near you, covering all regions of the volunteer state, all endorsed by the legendary Bill Dance himself. Whether it's a weekend getaway or an extended vacation, create timeless memories at Tennessee's Bill Dance signature lakes. Plan your trip.
As a professional fisherman, every decision I make is to win.
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 The boat I drive,
The baits I throw,
the gear I wear.
I do it to win.
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 Because when I'm on the water, I want to be the best.
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 That's why.
And that's why.
And that's why.
That's why
we wear the best.
Bassmaster halftime show presented by Bass Cat Boats. Beautiful North Carolina, Elizabeth City, North Carolina, and look at it is more beautiful for Kyle Welcher than anybody else right now. 55 pounds, 3 ounces. His nearest pursuant, a second-place finisher at the Bassmaster Classic, the youngest Elite Series champion in history, Trey McKinney, and look at in third place, Brandon Lester, and your Bassmaster Classic champion in fourth. Our leaderboard continues to change, but man, one thing does not change. Our tournament leader has a giant lead, a basic 20-pound lead at this point in the tournament. And the question coming into this is, will we see a century belt? Well, if it's up to Kyle Welcher, I think we are going to see a century belt, but a long way to go from there. But I'm happy to be joined by Scooter Lilly, and I got to ask the question that's been burning in my head. I mean, with a name like that, it's either a marketing scam or you were destined to be a pro angler or NASCAR racer. Which is it?
I have a very good sense of humor.
Okay.
That's what it takes to hold that name. It doesn't have to do with the pro fishing or the NASCAR driving, but I do love to fish, and I'm a local guide here, and my daddy tagged me with that name when I was a few months old. It's not on my birth certificate, but it is on my checking account.
Okay. All right. Watching a fishery like this that you're so intimate with, you spend so much time out here. I mean, it's always a cool experience to see the elite anglers come. What has stood out to you this week?
You know, I was hoping for a little bit better weather, so we could show this place off a little better, and they wouldn't have the. Yeah, I've heard about the bumpy rides, which doesn't surprise me. This place is known for some long runs and big water, or choppy water, so to speak. It's like a washing machine out there yesterday. It doesn't surprise me about where it's being led by no means. I was just concerned about how many people probably would be fishing that area. You know, this is a big fish area. There's a lot of fish in this area right here around town. He's definitely capitalizing on it, and he's showing off some of these bigger fish that are definitely living in this area.
Of all the conditions that we've got going on here, obviously the bumpy water across the sound, the wind, the colder temperatures coming into the tournament from practice. What's been the biggest thing keeping this from being what you might have thought it was?
Well, I mean, prior to coming into the tournament practice, you had a real good week of warm weather. The fish were going to the banks, they were spawning, and then you had that cold front come, and then you had all these changes of winds, and that has really made it it's dropped some of the water out. It made it difficult. I know after the first day of practice, I heard people really did well. The cold front come through, the water left, because those winds switching around out of different directions, it'll move this water all over the sound, and that's probably been the biggest disturbance, would be with catching these fish, is that water being so low. I think today it looks like it's a little bit back normal, and maybe this afternoon you'll start seeing some catches really coming in.
Got eyes on Trey McKinney right now, obviously. Weather coming in this afternoon. It's supposed to be a pretty aggressive storm roll through the area. Is that going to help things or hurt things?
Well, I think they'll bite prior to it. I think the most significant part about a storm coming through would be lightning, if there's any lightning. I mean, that'll definitely shut down some of and this is all shallow water oriented fishing right now in the spring, and the fish being up shallow trying to spawn. If you get any thunder and lightning, it'll kind of shut that shallow water bite off a little bit. I think the guys with the perspective mode, looking at them a little bit better off the bank, those fish will be a little more comfortable, especially if the next 2 days coming with the water, I think, is going to be gone Saturday and Sunday. So it's going to keep those bigger fish from really showing up shallow like they should.
One thing, as we're watching Easton Fothergill here, is, yesterday we saw him fishing near the bank, not on the bank. You mentioned a lot of those fish pulling up to the bank. We've seen the electronics play big into this.
Definitely.
Is this something that you have experience with, those fish that are staging, even spawning just a little bit further off the bank? And is that part of the factor of the water moving up and down so much?
I think it's more of the water that's been low and pulling out. I think those fish have held off the bank a little bit because of these these winds that we've been getting that kept the water low. Most time they're right on the bank spawning. You know, and I'm a shallow water guy, and that's where I like to catch them. So I'm not really looking at my electronics a whole lot off the bank. But if you do it long enough, you just know. You got a second sense that tells you they're out. They're not going to be up shallow, and that's what it is. And these guys.
Whoa, hold on. Sorry to interrupt you. Kyle Welcher hooked up live.
Right here. Know right where he's at. Check him out. Oof. It's another good one.
In the mouth.
Wow, he is decimating the rest of the field right now.
You spent that long.
Is there a point, you know the area very intimately, that he's... Let's listen to him real quick.
Two.
The area that he's fishing, will we near a point where he's got to kind of lay off, or do you got to get while you can get in that area?
I would definitely be slacking off a little bit, I think, with what he's got already. And, I mean, because I do think the next 2 days, like I talked about, might be a little tougher with the water. We're going to have northwest winds the next 2 days. It's going to dump a lot of water out of here.
I mean, after practice, I would have killed for that.
I mean, you know, he knows what he's doing, and that's pretty good when he's getting rid of. I'd think about maybe laying off a little bit. He's over 20, I do believe, right?
Oh, yeah.
Bass Track now unofficially has him at 26 and a half, 26.8.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, he's in line.
Ooh, that is a menacing shot. Is probably the right adjective for that. That is the area, and obviously, as we said, some weather coming in. And, man, that visual right there, I mean, if you're any other of the 101 other pros trying to beat Kyle Welcher, I mean, Kyle Welcher's got to feel good. Like, when you look at that knowing you're only a mile and a half from takeoff and everybody else has got to go through that, oh, what a play. Is that the kind of, the area he's fishing, is it the kind of area, I mean, obviously going to have a big lead at the halfway point of this tournament, is it the kind of area that can continue to put him out?
Absolutely. There's a lot of fish in that area. There has been, and there's also some spawning areas real close by, which will keep those fish coming into that area he's fishing. So, you know, they're going to be pulling in and out with the weather and the water moving up and down. And I think he's sitting in a great spot to get the job done, even though it is close. And he's fortunate enough. It does appear that there aren't many anglers fishing right in that particular spot or in that zone.
So we've talked all week long about the water movement. Obviously, not tidal is what we were told coming into this, but the water moves up and down a lot based on the winds. It's something the guys in the studio, Tommy, Davey, Ronnie, they want to know. They want you to break it down for us. You know, what winds do what, you know, how does that affect certain areas, like close by, you know, the Roanoke, the different areas? Because to me, that is a rather confusing concept. And we even heard some of the guys on the Elite Series yesterday on camera saying that they were a little confused by the water dropping based on the wind direction. So it's a pretty complex thing, I understand.
It is. It's a mind game playing that wind, because it could do so many different things, and you'll think that one direction that it's blowing will help you, and it's doing the exact opposite. I believe it was northeast yesterday, and what will happen is, and today is southeast, so it's a total different wind direction. The southeast that we have today will actually put a little water in here, and it won't back it in hard, but it'll at least show back up to where the water's higher than it was yesterday. So you kind of want to play those winds if you know, the more you fish and learn. But you know, these guys are kind of, you know, they're at a disadvantage not understanding these wind directions that we have down here. Northwest is definitely going to pull the water out of this whole body from Chowan, Roanoke, all the way out. Northeast usually puts a little water in here, but what it did yesterday was it blew a lot of water from the upper end of the sound and backed it up into the Chowan and the Roanoke area. So these guys lost water at this end.
Obviously got eyes on Brock Mosley right now. But the guy who everybody's got their eyes on is obviously our tournament leader, Kyle Welcher. Let's have a look at his catches from today. And this, just to remind you, this is not any part of the Dirty 30 from yesterday. This is just today.
I'm shaking. There's a keeper. Mm-hmm. I couldn't see over my hood.
Once again, this footage from earlier today. And what a day Kyle Welcher has had. What a way to back up, and just goes to show you the age-old tournament thought that bad pre-fish equals good tournament. He literally said he did not have a clue leaving yesterday. Well, he's got a clue now, and he is maximizing that clue. Called his shot, Kyle Jesse, yesterday. Said he was going to catch that 7-pounder first thing in the morning, and guess what? He did.
A lot of guys say that, but of course, they go out the next day, the fish is gone, they don't catch it. I mean, immediately today shows up, that fish is there, catches it. What a performance so far by Kyle Welcher.
Scooter, I want to thank you for joining us, and I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Yeah.
If you can't pick Kyle Welcher, who's going to win this Bassmaster tournament?
Oh, man. I had so many places picked in my head, and actually where he's fishing was one of them. So I also had the alligator picked out, and I was looking at some of Randy Howe footage yesterday, and I was thinking he was definitely sitting in a good area. But I pretty much I can't pick Welcher.
Well, you can if you want. I mean, you're Scooter. You can do whatever you want. I mean, you're Scooter Lily.
He's doing pretty good. He's blowing the field out right now. But we'll know this afternoon and come weigh in and see if, we'll tell more about what's going to go on.
We will find out.
Yeah.
Please don't hold it against me, but I'm pretty sure I'm using Scooter Lily as my alias wherever we go in the world. I will be Scooter Lily from here on out. A menacing scene here for day number 2. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in just a few minutes' time with Bo Knows and some great stuff from On the Water here at the third stop of the 2025 Progressive Bassmaster Elite Series.
Serious anglers. Line.
We're off the clock to clock more fish, to fill our live wells and empty our coolers, because there's more to explore. The latest Humminbird fish finders work fast, see clearly, and know all the best spots. They fish even smarter paired with the Minn Kota and break down the water like never before. If you like your plans loose and lines tight, then it's time to explore. Only with Humminbird.
This is the brand new B.A.S.S. It's a little bit shallower than the original. It has more of that traditional bass boat look that I love. The layout of this boat's set up really, really nice. Really easy to fish out of, really easy to rig out of. Storage is insane. And this thing's a beast in big water, but also drafts super shallow. So, just a really high performance machine. I can take this boat all across the country, whether I'm river beating or on the Great Lakes, and it handles everything flawlessly.
Good morning, commuters. Looks like we got traffic backed up for miles. Starting with a downed tree blocking East Avenue and a broken water main causing a bottleneck on the westbound lanes. We've got weekend travelers flooding the turnpike, meaning it's bumper-to-bumper traffic for the foreseeable future. I'd get comfortable. You might be there for a while.
Toyota trucks. Let's go places.
The iconic chatterbait, now reimagined. Introducing the Tungsten Evo. Engineered for precision with improved tactical feedback, a signature underwater sound, and the most advanced features in the chatterbait blade jig family. It's crafted for those who demand the best.
Hell yeah.
Join the new era of bass fishing with the Tungsten Evo.
The water demands power, and anglers seek a portable, efficient system built to take them further. That's where Newport delivers. Make long runs, reach untouched waters, and fish where others can't. Explore beyond the beaten path with confidence. Power your water, your way. Newport.
Cube, the quick cube.
The quick cube. The durability is my favorite thing about a quick cube. You can flip through them like a filing cabinet.
The clear window on these, I know exactly what's in there.
And I love this bag. I've got a bunch of them.
You know, if you want to squish them in a little bit, it's no big deal.
That zipper is watertight, floats. I can just drop it right in the water, and then I can pull it right back out again, and it's totally dry on the inside.
Bassmaster Halftime Show presented by Bass Cat Boats. Welcome back to Elizabeth City, North Carolina, Pasquotank River, and I'm glad we got here now because it took me up till now to learn how to say it. A lot of confusing names to say here, but we got a guy who's going to dispel all myths and educate us with his wealth of knowledge. And that, of course, producer Steve Bowman joining us on set with a feature that we call Bo Knows. And Bowman, Scooter did a great job. Can you back it up?
Probably not. But I do know this, that I feel like I could kill a duck right there. This is a beautiful place.
We're not talking about
I
duck
know
killing.
we're on the bass fishing deal, okay. So I want to tell you a little bit about the catch rates for this event. We do bass track and a few other things that keep us tuned in to the hourly catches. Now, these are a 10-hour time span. We have an 8-hour tournament. Because of the flights, though, it's spread out over a 10-hour period. So, number one that I know, the overall best fishing hour of day one was 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. You know, it's really not that big of a surprise, right? Because it's spawning season. Now we get in the summer, it'll
when they just
go a lot earlier.
Yeah. Half them running.
100%.
Yeah, and some of it is running.
Settling in.
But that hour accounted for 20% of the catch in those 10 hours that were reported.
Wow.
A full 20% of the catch. It was also the heaviest hour by sheer numbers. You know, if you weighed up all the fish, but it was just a 2.5-pound average for every fish caught during that hour. Up to 11 a.m. when that hour ended, 45% of all the fish weighed came by 11 o'clock. Okay, so that's the first thing I know. Number two, the big fish hours tell a completely different story. Okay, that 10 a.m. hour accounted for 20% of the 5-pound plus fish, just like it did in all the rest of them. It was preceded by 3 hours that added together accounted for another 20%. Okay? In the 11 a.m. hour, I'm having a difficult time going a.m.
I need an abacus to put all this together.
I know this.
Bowman.
I'm tongue-tied. There were no fish caught over 5 pounds, right? But by noon through 2 o'clock, almost 50% of all the big fish were caught during noon to 2.
Wow.
So basically, there's a big fish window coming. And number 3 is simple. It's like all pre-spawn events. Mid-morning is for limits. Afternoon is for giants and game changers.
Well, I'll tell you this much, too. We're going to have our work cut out for us today to figure out the pattern, what the deal is going on, because I just took a look at today's numbers, and the 9 to 10 a.m. hour, we have 8 catches over 5 pounds, which is by far more than any other hour we saw yesterday.
That
Kyle Welcher probably accounted for 6 of them. So, I mean,
there is
that.
There is that. But, I mean, it also, I mean, if those averages hold up, just think what we got to look at this afternoon.
For sure.
I mean, number-wise, totally different direction, but just when we talk about these long runs, just add up, and obviously we're seeing what's happening weight-wise, but just add up how much more fishing time Kyle Welcher has. I mean,
oh, my gosh. Yeah.
He is literally,
got the full day.
When this is done today, you can fish all 4 days of this event, and if you're making those long runs, he's probably already fished more hours than you will the entire 4 events.
Exactly.
That's a great point.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it's a little bit interesting from, I mean, it's not any huge surprise, but the big interesting thing for me was how big the day got as the day wore on. So,
wow. It's good stuff. Good stuff. You know what? We're going to keep you around, Bo.
Okay.
We're going to keep you around, Bowman, and we're going to do some bold predictions, Kyle Jesse. Where are we going with this?
Well, we're going to keep Bowman rolling. Bowman, you're going to go first. You're going to give us your bold prediction for this tournament moving forward the rest of the day, and then, even maybe on into the weekend.
Having been here and got to know Scooter a little bit, I'm gonna just tell you that based on the information that I just gave you, conversations with Scooter, there will be a double-digit bass weight in this tournament. But I'm going to go one step further. That fish will come today.
Today.
So you're saying there's going to be another surprise?
I think that the big fish trend is for the afternoon. I see a front coming in, right?
Sure.
And, I mean, it just is like a perfect storm for that double-digit fish to come this afternoon. That might be it right there. No.
That is not it. That is definitely not it.
So I'm saying it happens.
So I'm going to give my bold prediction, and I will say I thought of this before what we just saw on the halftime show with Kyle Welcher. But we've talked about it. Brandon Polnick at Okeechobee, these tournaments where you get big leads going into the final day. Easton Fothergill just a couple weeks ago at the Classic. We always think it's just going to be overdone. Once it gets to a certain point, it's over. It almost never works that way. And it might trickle in and, later on in the day. But my prediction is going to be that this is going to come down to the wire. And now I don't mean necessarily at weigh-in.
I hope you're right. I so hope you're right.
But I'm going to say he's not going to run away with it. I don't know. Maybe the conditions change in here. Something gets tougher. I will say, either way, I'm going to win this because Kyle Welcher was my AOY pick. So if he wins this event, I mean, good for me.
You found a backdoor way to make your pick relevant, but you did pick it. I mean, that's a moment of total honesty when you're making stuff like this. You did pick it a couple hours ago. It was a lot more bold at the time, but I will say, and my prediction also was a lot more bold at the time because when you see what Kyle Welcher's saying, you're going to say, well, of course. But I'm going to say, we've seen a 30-pound bag in the first 3 Elite Series events. Obviously, this one was weighed in here yesterday. It is not the only Dirty 30 we're going to see here this week. We will see another Dirty 30, and hey, it might be Kyle Welcher today.
Kyle?
Who knows?
No.
Yeah, I didn't know any better.
He's not going to run away with it, though.
Well, if he does, it kind of ruins your prediction. But we'll find out. Great predictions. Bowman, great job here. And some great on-the-water footage we've had here in this segment. So I love seeing that. And you guys are going to see more of that. And here's the good news. Wherever you're watching in the world, you're not standing out in that. It is ominous here in beautiful Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Obviously, normally beautiful, but a little inclement here today. But the weather's going to be wonderful this weekend. It's going to be a big fish showdown, throwdown, a big fish mowdown for the third stop at 2025.
New York State